Welcome to Lawfolds Farm, episode 19, with me, Mr. Sealy P. Before I begin the episode that I'm intending to do, which today is going to be logging, I had a comment or a message sent to me actually by Dan. Thank you, Dan. Regarding baling, and that a lot of the maps, I assume PS4, I'm not sure, will only kind of allow you up to 200 bales maximum. I've got quite a few bales here, to be fair. So he said what he's done on his farm is used these big barn spaces to put the stuff in loose. So one will be full of hay, one will be full of straw, and then obviously you have your silage, and then you use the self line to go and pick up each of whatever you need. I did do that on Chellington. If you haven't watched my Chellington Let's Play, was over, have a look, Chellington 17. I did do that on there. I put it all loose on the ground, and I found it far quicker and far easier because it took away all the fuss of having to bale and stack bales and bale collectors. You just have a loading wagon, you collect up wherever you've mowed, and you basically stick it in a huge pile, and then with the self line you pick it all up. So go over, have a look on Chellington 17. It does work really well, but in the interest of keeping the Let's Plays different and interesting, I decided when I moved over onto Lawfolds and then the Old Stream Farm, I would do bales. Some I've done round bales, some I've done square bales, and obviously with the new Kuhn DLC, there's the option now for wrapping square bales and all sorts. So just thought I'd mention that before I kind of moved on to the rest of the video. So let's move on. Oh, actually, before I move on, I sold the Lely, Lotus, Profi, and bought the Kuhn GF8702, which is what I did on the Old Stream Farm the other day. When new mods come out, new things on the DLC, if I've got bits of equipment that they can replace, I'll replace them. And if that means doing that on all my farms, I'll do exactly the same thing. So that's a new tedder. That will work better with the equipment I have got. So, my logging setup, or wood chipping setup so far, got the wood chipper, got my lorry, got the ScorpionKing, which I bought a while back, which is more than paid for itself with the amount of logging and wood chipping I've done. Today is going to be full on logging. Now, with a slight twist, I was going to get a timber runner trailer, and there are a couple of new modded ones actually out as well, and log and then put them in. I used to use the telehandler with a manure fork because I found that far easier for picking up multiple logs at a time. I've done that, been there, it's you know, it's old hat. So I thought I would do something a little different, which I'd never done before. And that was to lease this. The PONSSE Buffalo. This is the weirdest thing. I've been thinking about using this, and I had a bit of a fiddle around with it on my test map. I came on here, and interestingly enough, I think it is still, it's on sale, 10% off down to 198,000. Well, 199 pretty much. And I thought, I'll buy it. I'm not really going to use it that often. Whilst it is on sale, I'm not going to use it often enough to warrant having it. The ScorpionKing, absolutely, because for wood chipping, but this, not necessarily. But I've leased it. I've leased it with crawler tracks instead of just wheels. That's just cost me 16,500 to lease. But in the interests of making my video interesting and seeing new bits of equipment, not new bits of equipment, but equipment being used that I haven't used before, it's worth it. I can always make that money back in no time. Contracting job or a bit of wood chipping. Here is my Kuhn GF. It's there. 8702. That's the new tedder. Anyway, let's get this over to our logging area. So kind of all in one, which I like about this, is you've got your logging trailer on the back. It's tracked, it can move it around, plus it's got the crane. Now on FS15 there was the smaller, is it stepper logging trailer. I could never ever get to grips with it. There was also the smaller Jen's wood chipper that had a little crane on it. I don't know why. I found it an absolute nightmare to use. This, however, when I had to fiddle around with it the other day, whether I just got incredibly lucky, I don't know. And we'll see in a minute, because it could just be that. If you've watched any of my Let's Plays, when I did Goldcrest Valley and I did logging, and I took it all over by train, I think it was, or was it by lorry? I tried to unload it with the crane. Oh my god, it was awful. I had a go at the end of the day. I'm no expert with it. In all honesty, I don't know how I'm driving this. I'm assuming it's those two little joystick controls down there. There's no steering wheel, so it's a little bit disconcerting. But it's not a bad little cab interior. Nice vision all round, which is rather handy. Now the question is going to be, I'm not quite sure how long the trailer is at the back. The longest cut length you can do with the ScorpionKing is 8 metres. So what I might do is just start off at 8, try and load one tree up at 8. If it's too long, make it smaller. If it's too short, there's not a lot I can do about it. But we'll have a go. That's what it's all about. Have a go. Nice bit of equipment there. See, now I'm thinking, should I just buy one? But it's a piece of equipment that'll just sit here. No, don't buy it, don't buy it. I want to, but I shouldn't. Let's open that up. Now, I will just put this on. Only to make my life easier. Right, cut length. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 metres. Wow, let's pick a tree. Doesn't really matter which one. There we go. Lift that up. Now I can move the ponds wherever I need it. The buffalo, they're both ponds, aren't they? Buffalo. But what I will do is just swing that out. Let's cut this into 8 metre chunks. Yeah, that doesn't seem as long as I remember them being, but hey, 8 metres is 8 metres. We'll start off with one at 8 metres and then we can go from there. Probably the best bet. The workmen are outside my house again, so the noise could get a little bit ridiculous in a minute, but we'll see how we work out with that. Right, I may have to speak up just a little bit. What I do like about this is there are different camera angles and this actually really works to advantage. So, first things first, line that up. Next camera angle is in cab, then we've got the crane, and this is the one that's important. So, left one gives you your up and down and side to side. R1 gives you a boom in, out, kind of forwards and backwards, extends the arm. Then if you do L1 and L2 together, you've got rotation of the head, and then you've also got opening and closing of the head. Now, with that control stick doing both at the same time, on left and right one, to do forward and backwards without getting rotation in it as well can often be a bit tricky, but I found this to be quite effective. So, here's what we're going to do then. Let's see if I can pick one of these up, shall we? Let's rotate the head. This worked fine the other night when I had a go, so we'll just see. I just found it quite relatively straightforward to use. It wasn't tricky. Alright, see what I mean? It rotates the head instead. Right, close that up. That should have that. Grabs now. Not necessarily the best angle. Right, rotate the head a little bit. Lift that up. Come down a little bit. Right, so when you've got in the position you want it in over the trailer, rotate the head around. Let's extend that out a little bit. And then into the trailer. Now if I bring that back a little bit towards me, he says, I'm not bringing it towards him at all. Let's bring that up. And that should be about right, I think. So, open the head. No, open the head. Like so. So I mean, told you, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right. Let's just turn that for a second and have a look at our handiwork. You know what? That's right up against the sort of, I call that the butt plate. It's kind of butts up against it. Now, look at that now. 8 metres is way too long. I say it's way too long. It will stick out off the end, but the longer the length, the more money you get for them per log. So actually, that might not be too bad. That's up as far as it will go, and that's sticking right out. But the other good thing about this is that you can strap it down. So you put the tension straps on. That will hold that in place. They're not going to go anywhere. Well, I say they're not going to go anywhere. Hopefully they're not going to go anywhere. So I'm just thinking whether to do it in 7s rather than 8s. I might just sit on here a little bit better because that just seems to be the tipping point. The centre of gravity is obviously going to be at 4 metres, which is about there. It's almost at that tipping point on this bar here, the back of the trailer, where it might tip off the back. Whereas if it was 7s, that kind of end bit won't be there and the centre of gravity will be further forward. I'll put the rest of these on. So we'll put the rest of these on. We'll have a go at putting the rest of these on. Oh dear. Now that was actually a little bit too... was it too far forward or too far back? I can't remember now. Let's swing that arm out. Rotate the head round. Now you can probably do 2 at a time, I would imagine, if you're good at this, which I'm not particularly, as you can probably tell. I think having the crane a little bit closer might also be a bit more advantageous. You know what, let's try for 2. It's probably not going to work, is it? But, you know. Oh, you never know. You never... Please tell me I didn't pick up all 3. The bottom one's going to fall out, isn't it? It can't stay there. Oh, come on. That looked so good for a second. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Okay. Well, for a little while, it looked really good. Unfortunately, it was only for a little while. That one's going to fall out completely. Let's just get that one out of the way. That one fall by the wayside. Don't know if I can get both these in all honesty, because that one's sticking out way too far now. Right, what I'll do is release the grab a little bit, come across for that one. See if I can just grab that one on its own. Okay. That's not so bad. I'll try and put it down without hitting on there. That could have been worse, but it could have been better. Okay, right. I'm going to continue and load some of these up. Now I'm not far off full on this. I'm not going to overload it too much. I mean, to be fair, if you have a look, there's some gaps down the side here these big logs didn't fall into. I've got some room down the side here, probably get a couple more here, and cut down one more tree, load it up, and that'll be a full load on my logging, well, I wouldn't say extravaganza, it's not an extravaganza, a logging foray, a foray into logging, that's what I'm going to call it. And that, I think, is that for the time being, because that's crazy. I'm going to open that right out and just push that down to there for the time being, just to hold that one in place. There we go. Okay, let's head to sell these. Pretty much a full load. They are way longer than the trailer's probably designed for. But there we go, logging. The crane takes a bit of practice, it really does. But it's quite intuitive. The hardest thing is when you swing the camera around to get a better angle and it's all back to front, then you've got to get your head around the controls back to front. And this is not the quickest of vehicles either, at 14 miles per hour. But needs must and all that. Tension straps are a godsend, really are. Although you can always tell when you've reached beyond the limit of what you should be able to do, because the tension straps won't go over all of the logs, which kind of tells you you've probably gone way beyond what you should have done. I'll get around there? Probably not. Let's back up just a little bit. Now the other question is going to be, will this accept this in the log point, or will it be too high off the ground? If it's too high off the ground, I'm going to have to spend ages unloading this entire thing, which in honesty will destroy me. Just get out of the way. And we'll undo the tension straps and see what happens. Please work. You've got to be kidding me. Oh no. I don't know if unconventional will work. This can't really go fast enough, can it? Oh, it might work. Okay, try this a couple of times. This is not the done thing. Don't try this at home, kids. With your parents' logging equipment. If your father happens to have a PONSSE buffalo, don't do this. He'll be very cross. It will go. It will go. Or the suspension on the back of this thing is having an absolute mare. Nearly. It's not like there's an unload button, is there? Please tell me there's not like an unload. Change driving direction. What? Oh, that would have been easy to know, wouldn't it? Haha! I knew it would work. I didn't know you could change the driving direction. There you go. I've learnt something about this piece of equipment. I mean, did alright out of that. I didn't look to see what I had originally, but you know. It would have been more orthodox using the crane. Not as much fun, let's be honest. But kind of more accepted, I believe. What am I doing? That was what I intended doing. And then pack that away. Wow. Well, that's an interesting driving way, isn't it? And trying to get your head around that is really difficult. Actually, going that way is pretty good. I like that. Anyway, okay, that's logging. And we've got our money for our logs. I'll have to double check when I edit this because I didn't look to see how much we had before we did it and work out how much we got for the load. Whatever we get for the load, I will put it up on the screen. I prefer driving this way. It's like having a big bucket on the front. Still goes at 14 miles an hour. Well, that's just about it for this episode. Not quite what I was expecting, I'll be honest with you. 16,257 we made on that log pile. Okay, on what we filled this up with. I've got... Turn that off. That's because it's the cab around the other way. I thought, what, I got the wrong way. Those two spindly bits left out of all the logs. Now I cut down 3 trees, which pretty much filled that. with these 2 bits left over, and that gave me 16,257. That's the price of lumber. Wood chips, for the price of wood chips, if I cut down 2 trees, that would fill this, and I would make 64,000. Why would you spend the time doing logging for 16,000 on this trailer? If you use the longer timber runners, and there's the bio belts, like I said earlier, the bio belts mod ones, you might make 25,000, 30,000 for a trailer with all the time, all the effort, all the crane work, when you can just get a full load of that for 64. Now I know it doesn't make sense, and it's kind of like, you know, people will be saying, yeah, it's ridiculous, it shouldn't be. You know, I totally agree, it's ridiculous. You should be getting more for your timber, your lumber, or less for the wood chips, whichever way around. Don't get me wrong, I'm chuffed to bits you get a load for the wood chips, it's brilliant. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's a bit of an odd one. Anyway, as I keep saying, it's the end of the episode. It is really the end of the episode now. I hope it's been insightful. Take that any way you wish. How not to do it, how to do it, what to try, what not to try. Take from it what you will. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share the video, please be my guest. I am also on Facebook. Updates go on there regularly as well. Whatever you should choose to do. As always, thanks for watching.